Okay, so that seems like a lot. Let's go over it and see what it does. So our first line, we're saying NSTask. We have a pointer to a task variable, and we're going to instantiate a new task. Then we create a pipe. Then we create a file handle, and the file handle is going to read data that was passed to it through the pipe. So if you're familiar with Unix at all, this would just be a standard pipe. So if we ran this curl command up here at the top, let me just copy that and I'll paste it down here. If we were to put this in the terminal and run this, and then we wanted to pass it through to another command, let's say grep, then we would use a pipe. And so everything to the left of the pipe would be executed, and all of those results then would go to the command grep. And then grep could operate on them, and we could find something. So I believe there was a screen name as part of the XML. So if we typed screen name and ran grep, then our curl command would run. It would bring back the XML. It would feed it over to grep. If it could find a line that had screen name in it, then it would return us just that line. And so that's how the pipe's working. So I'll go ahead and remove that. And the NS file handle is what was on the other side of the pipe, and it's going to read in that data. So then we come down and we start setting options on our task. Now if you think about this, this is just like how we set up our TM_twit class. Instead of using dot notation, here we're using the send message notation. So we're saying task, set your launch path, and then we give it a string that is our launch path. And the launch path is to the application on your system that you want to run. Now Unix has lots of commands that you can run, so knowing how to use NSTask is a very good tool to have in your bag since you'll use it often. Our second option we're going to set is the arguments, and our arguments are going to be an array of each one of these items that are up here in this string. And we'll create that as soon as I get done explaining this part. The last option we set is the set standard output. This statement tells the task to use this pipe that we created up here as its output of the results it has when it's launched. So then we launch our task, and when the results come back, they'll be read in as NSData, and we're going to use the file read data to end of file, so it's just going to read all the data that comes back, and then we're going to immediately turn that into an NS string that we can use in C. And the way we do that is we create an NS string, we allocate memory for it, we init it with data, we use the data that we got back, and the encoding we're going to use NSUTF-8 string encoding. Now that we have all the information from the task, we can release it. We don't need it anymore. Then we're going to log the string to the console, and then we release the string. So hopefully that makes sense how everything's working. Our next step is to create an array holding all of the arguments. So we'll do that above the task, and we'll just say NSArray, and we'll call it arguments. We'll use the class method ArrayWithObjects. And our first argument is going to be the -u, so that's going to be a string. And you can't put any of these arguments together, so we couldn't put -u space and then the username, the colon, the password as one argument. Each argument has to occupy its own place inside the array. Now the second object we're going to add is the user and password. This is going to require us to create another string using string with format. So I'm going to do that right above this. And I'll name this user and pass. This is going to be an NS string. We're going to use string with format. And the format is going to be a %at, a colon, and a %at. As you can see up here, we've got a user, a colon, and the password. So our substitution values, we're going to use our getter methods. So we'll say self, username, and self, user pass. We'll close that off. And then here, we'll type in user and pass. And the last item is going to be the URL itself. So I'm going to hit a carriage return, give us a little more room here. And I'm going to go up here and just copy this. And remember, when we're using ArrayWithObjects, we need to terminate it with nil. And that just lets the method know to stop adding objects to the array. And I think that'll do it. Now we need to go back to our main controller and call this method when the submit button is clicked. And we can do that by going up to our file history menu and going over to main controller. Now, instead of logging that the user has credentials, I'm going to remove all of this. And instead, we're going to wrap this in an if statement. And we're going to move the TM Twit has credentials. We're going to move it up as our test. So here we're going to say if TM Twit has credentials. Now you can leave this code just like this. The if statement is going to know whether or not that returns a yes or a no value, whether it is true or false. But for readability, you might want to put equals yes. This is really up to you. It's a coding style. To me, this is very clear what this is doing, but I'm comfortable with either way. So if the user does have credentials, for testing right now, we're just going to call the method on the TM_twit class. So we'll say TM_twit is user authenticated. Now remember, in the is user authenticated method, we're logging to the console the string that we get back. So I think it's time to go ahead and build and run and make sure that our application is logging a result back from Twitter. Use Command R. I'll use Command comma to bring up the window. I'll put in my authentication. And hit enter. Now go ahead and quit that. And if we look down in the console, we can see that we got our XML back, just like we thought we would. So we know that all of our methods are working, our NSTask is working. We were able to enter our username and password, and when that was authenticated with the Twitter API, it came back positive. In our next video, we're going to continue working with authentication.